Hello everyone, Fred here. In this installment of TPP Dynamite, I'm going to be talking about how James Gunn might go about canceling Matt Reeves' The Batman Part 2 as well as the rest of Matt Reeves' The Batman universe. First things first though, if you haven't already, let me encourage you to subscribe to my channel. I'm currently nearing 480 subscribers and am really trying to make it to 500 by the end of this year. I post film, book, and TV series reviews. I do opinion pieces on entertainment, news, and affairs. I'm also an author of adult and young adult mystery novels. I recently released a new short mystery called The Intruder. There's a link to it in my video description below, and I encourage you to check it out as well. With that in mind, and without further ado, I'm going to just jump right into it. So first, I'm going to toss a disclaimer here. I am not saying that James Gunn is canceling either The Batman Part 2 or any other part of Matt Reeves' The Batman universe. In fact, just to give James the benefit of the doubt, he has said publicly that The Batman Part 2 hasn't been greenlit yet, only because there's not a satisfactory script yet. In fact, James seems to like Matt Reeves' Batman stuff and has said on record that he considered having Matt Reeves' Batman join the DCU at one point. But I'm making this video largely as a response to statements that I've heard from essentially two camps of people. The first camp is full of people, usually Gunn shields, who will argue to their last breaths that James Gunn would never cancel Matt Reeves' The Batman universe, that James Gunn is too honorable to disrespect the fans that way, that James Gunn has already promised that his DCU will be big enough to share space with Elseworlds content, that James Gunn would never be stupid enough to throw away the kind of money and prestige that Matt Reeves' Batman universe has been drawing in after the Batman and the Penguin. The second camp is full of people, maybe Gunn shields and maybe just individuals who are unfamiliar with how the film business works, who will argue to their last breaths that they won't believe Matt Reeves' Batman universe has been canceled until and unless someone announces the cancellation. These are people who tend to say that there would be an announcement by James Gunn or someone in his camp, or even Matt Reeves himself, if any part of Matt Reeves' Batman universe were to be canceled. Both camps are naturally wrong, and I made this video to specifically explain why. So to the first camp, let me just ask you this. Have you been living under a rock these past 2 or so years? Have you seen what James Gunn has done with DCU Studios in that time? You'll say that James Gunn would never be stupid enough to just throw away the kind of money and prestige that Matt Reeves' Batman universe has pulled with the Batman and the Penguin, but he's already doing that. James has expressed respect for Matt Reeves and Matt Reeves' The Batman universe. James did, like I said before, throw out that line one time about how he considered having Matt Reeves' The Batman be part of the DCU. And James did promote the Penguin while it was airing. But in the end, James has done very little by way of encouraging Matt Reeves' stuff. James's only real promotion of it came mostly from attending the Penguin's premiere and tossing some random tweets about how the show was good. And in fact, when the Penguin's much acclaimed finale aired, James hijacked his own congratulatory tweet regarding that finale to hype up his own Creature Commandos and Peacemaker projects. Matt Reeves' The Batman was by no means a perfect movie, but it made major box office bank and is very much beloved amongst a very large audience. The Penguin has been nominated for literal Emmys, and it's a safe-ish bet that the lead actors will also be winning major awards for their roles in that show. Nevertheless, James Gunn has invested at least twice as much time via tweets and interviews and press releases, hyping up his own projects, stuff that he wrote and is producing, and that has not yet drawn half the acclaim of Matt Reeves' The Batman universe than he is anything related to Matt Reeves' Batman stuff. And much of the praise that he's tossed to Matt Reeves and that Batman universe has been praise of the obligatory sort that you would expect the literal co-head of the studio that produces the projects to put out for the content that it's producing. And that behavior is the definition of throwing away the kind of money and prestige that Matt Reeves' Batman universe has pulled with its The Batman and the Penguin projects. You'll say that James is too honorable to disrespect fans by canceling a beloved franchise like the Batman, and that he's all but vowed to continue Matt Reeves' Batman franchise in saying that the DCU would include Elseworlds content. But the real truth is that since becoming the head of DC Studios, James Gunn has not, to my knowledge, greenlit one scrap of that Elseworlds content. Every Elseworlds project unaffiliated with James Gunn's DCU that has been released since James came on was, I believe, already in development before James came on. James Gunn has ignored pleas by fans to save masterpiece shows like Superman and Lois or Stargirl by placing them on Max as Elseworlds shows. He's ignored similar pleas to save Young Justice on Max. His own good friend Michael Rosenbaum developed a very solid pitch for an animated follow-up series to Smallville. There's plenty of fan hype for it, but James Gunn has apparently put Michael on notice that he's not going to touch it. No. James Gunn is first and foremost interested in building the DCU around his own projects that he is writing or at least producing. He has a very specific vision, and besides himself, there is a very specific set of creatives whom he has in mind or is willing to hire to make that vision real. He's already said that his version of Batman, the DCU's Batman, is going to be this brave and the bold version that may or may not be directed by Andy Muschietti. And I know that at this rate, Matt Reeves' The Batman Part 2 might end up being delayed long enough for Robert Pattinson to be in his 50s by the time it films, but his Batman still just is not going to fit with James Gunn's vision for the character. And especially considering the critical and audience acclaim that Matt Reeves' Batman universe is getting right now, there's a good chance that James Gunn is not going to want that universe's version of Batman to be releasing movies, even Elseworlds disconnected movies, within one or even a few years of when James Gunn himself wants audiences to fall in love with his less grounded version of the Batman character to be directed by Andy Muschietti versus Matt Reeves. And besides everything that I just said, when it comes to quote-unquote comic book Elseworlds content, James Gunn has demonstrated that he only really has a taste for one kind of Elseworlds material in either live action or animation. That is usually ensemble casted content that is lewd, crude, and socially unacceptable by everyone except adults with a dark and twisted and generally sexual sense of humor. That's why the only such content that James Gunn has really been seen praising consistently until now has been Max's Harley Quinn TV series, which is basically an ensemble casted, irreverent, R-rated, lewd, crude, socially unacceptable, Elseworlds show meant to be enjoyed by adults with a dark and twisted and generally sexual sense of humor. And in fact, James Gunn has Dean Lorey, who wrote and executive produced Harley Quinn, as an executive producer on his Creature Commandos show. And for that reason alone, Matt Reeves' Batman universe of serious, soulful, gritty, noirish crime fiction most probably will not fall in line even with James Gunn's taste in Elseworlds content. Now to the second camp, let me just tell you this. That is not how the film business works in America. It's pretty common in the American network television or cable television or even the streaming arenas for network executives to straight up announce it when a series is canceled, but in the film business there's usually far less transparency regarding whether a movie will or won't see the light of day. And in America, when studio executives cancel or want to cancel a movie, especially a movie that is heavily anticipated by fans whom those executives don't want to upset, what they do is nothing. They just don't talk about those movies, don't promote them, don't give updates on when they'll be released. They usually toss out nebulous public statements about how the screenwriters can't seem to get the scripts right, or how new screenwriters are being brought in to assist in the process, or how the movies that those executives don't want released will be released only after a series of other movies that those executives do want released. And before you know it, the movies end up in what's called development hell, where they're being eternally reworked, eternally discussed, never released. And then the actors age out of the potential roles and or move on to other projects. The creatives behind the movies move on also. And finally, once it's clear that there's no chance of making the movies, the fans and potential audience members move on as well. And I guarantee you that if James Gunn ever did decide to cancel the Batman Part 2 and Matt Reeves' general Batman universe, that's how he'd go about doing it. Because James Gunn knows that he cannot go about publicly canceling anything from Matt Reeves right now if he wants to keep even the little support from DC Entertainment fans for the DCU that he does have. Because Matt Reeves' The Batman and the Penguin are more beloved, more popular, more profitable than anything James Gunn himself has done for either the DCEU or the DCU up until now. So if James Gunn did decide to cancel the Batman Part 2, he'd know that he'd have to be strategic about it. So he'd probably just keep on tossing out occasional praise on social media for Matt Reeves' vision and for the Batman and for the Penguin. He'd keep on talking about how Matt Reeves is working on the script for the Batman Part 2, possibly with 1 or 2 partners who are being brought in to help polish it, and that there'll be no movement on that film until everyone is happy with the script, despite the 2 or 4 or however many years pass in the process. Or even if everyone is happy with the script, James Gunn won't greenlight the filming of the movie until he's finished pushing out his own projects for the next 8 or 10 years. Robert Pattinson will move on to do his rumored MCU stuff. Other the Batman actors will move on as they get more certain work and don't have time to wait for a second The Batman movie that might not even materialize. And though James will never make any official announcement that the movie isn't coming, he'll eventually just stop talking about it. And so will the fans and audience members, who will, in large part, just forget that it was ever even a possibility. And that would be a shame, but that's just how Hollywood works. Anyway, I feel like I have to say it again that I am neither predicting that James Gunn will cancel the Batman Part 2, nor saying that he wants to. But I do think he could. I do think he'd never publicly admit it if he did. And I do think his doing it would look very similar to the way he's acting about it right now. But as always, that's just my opinion. Let me know yours. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Are your feelings more complex? Sound off in the comments below and let me know what you think. Meanwhile, if you liked this video and made it this far, don't forget to leave a like, click subscribe, ring that bell, and hey, follow me on social media as well. So long.